The key theme I'll be discussing is Assessment for Learning, or AFL. I chose to discuss the key theme because I'm interested in a distinct difference between assessment for learning and assessment of learning, and how AFL can be used to further the children's understanding and guide lesson planning and adaptations both during and between taught sessions. The National Foundation for Educational Research 2007 defined assessment as part of the learning journey that helps you know where you're going, why you want to go there, and how you plan to get there. From our seminar on assessment, we learnt the difference between assessment of learning and assessment for learning. Assessment of learning is summative. This comes in the form of end-of-term or topic tests, SATs tests, spelling tests, and so on. Assessment for learning is formative. It guides learning mid-journey, allowing changes to be made along the way through intervention during lessons. It comes in the form of questioning, marking books, discussions, and so on. Assessment for learning is what I'll be discussing further in this video. According to Kremen and Burnett, 2018, assessment for learning creates a different relationship between teacher and student, whereby the student becomes more actively involved in discussions about their learning and are involved in decision-making in order to progress their learning to the next levels. It allows teachers to ensure that pupils are supported and challenged within lessons and allows instant adjustments to be made to tasks to optimise learning within a particular lesson. This is different to assessment of learning, which is typically done at the end of the topic, meaning that such instant adjustments can't be made because all learning has already taken place. Hence the importance of assessment for learning to evaluate how the children are progressing within a topic and to prevent misunderstanding from pursuing through to the graded summative assessment points. According to Kremen and Burnett 2018, there are 10 principles of AFL, some of which include: it should be part of the planning and teaching of learning, it should focus on how pupils learn, it should be recognised as central to classroom practice, and so on. My emotional response initially was intrigue. I was intrigued by the idea of AFL as I wasn't completely aware as to how it worked within lessons to challenge pupils and how best to carry it out effectively. Another emotional response I felt was understanding. I felt that I understood the need for such informal assessments and felt happy that it was purely for the benefit of the children's learning process. Arguably, unlike assessment of learning, which typically centres around grades and results and subsequent school rankings, especially with SATs. My professional response is that I understand how AFL can benefit not only the students through increasing their learning capacity through interventions mid-lesson to challenge them to further their capabilities, but also benefits the teacher, as it gives them a clear way of evaluating their teaching without formalised testing and to assess the learning gaps, hence informing their future planning. My new learning of AFL fits into my prior experience of assessment strategies in both my own and my placement experiences of school, where I experienced questions in plenary to a lesson to check understanding and teachers circulating the room to answer questions and check on progress. This increased my understanding of the importance of informal assessment and observations made throughout lessons to further learning. A good example of this I witnessed on placement was in a maths lesson, whereby the teacher demonstrated conversion between fractions, decimals and percentages on the board. Students went away appearing to understand the concept, but when the teacher circulated the room, she quickly realised that students had misunderstood this, and this guided her to intervene by re-explaining the topic on the carpet with the children. The impact on children's learning is vital, in that it allows immediate changes to be made to tasks and lessons to challenge them a suitable amount to further their knowledge and understanding onto the next level. It allows children to take greater ownership over their learning through self-evaluation and peer assessment, allowing them to develop the skills of identifying their own mistakes. According to Kremen and Burnett, this leads to the learner having a great awareness of not just what they learn, but how they learn and what helps them to learn. This in turn develops their reflection abilities, which can be taken further into all aspects of their learning. It also allows misconceptions to be identified early on through questioning and bookmarking as examples. This allows misunderstanding to be addressed immediately. This is important to the children's learning as delay in identifying misconceptions could lead to more in-depth misconceptions occurring as a result. This may be harder to address and could be carried forward into the summative assessments. Hence, AFL helps address these errors quickly to prevent them from affecting the summative test results and ensuring children's learning is correct and accurate from the beginning. In my future practice, I'll be implementing AFL into all my lessons by directly including it into my lesson planning, as a means to check the children's understanding of their new knowledge and to self-evaluate my own teaching effectiveness, allowing me opportunities to make immediate changes and guide my future lesson planning. I aim to discover more about how AFL can be implemented in the classroom in diverse ways and how it can be adapted to children with varying additional needs.